Hello everyone, welcome to Questions and Reason. This is Sessions with the founder. It's the R, baby. It's the R. I want to first start by talking about the concept sellouts. I've come to realize that people call you a sellout when they don't understand what you are. Let me give it a little bit of context. So there was something called mission stations. What mission stations were is, for example, the Catholic will set up a place where their evangelical people will come and try to preach to the nation, right? So when they came and set up in South Africa, this country that I'm in right now, tribal people who looked at the lifestyle and said, wow, I would love to eat salt too. I would love to have sugar as well. I would love to have an education as well, and so on and so forth. The ones who came to be converted. Remember that these evangelical people didn't just come bringing a gospel or a teaching, but they set up public health care. They set up schools, instruments of literacy, and so on. So, and they had like new food to taste. People who love restaurants and exploring new foods will relate to this. So when some tribal people saw them and felt like, oh, I want to join, I want to be converted, I want to be amakholwa, the believers, or baholwa, right? So some people within the tribe decided they also want a better life, getting health care, eating things like butter, drinking tea. Tea was a luxury at the time. We may take it for granted now, but tea used to be the champopo of the day, the champagne that is expensive and only for royals, and so they wanted to experience that life. They converted to Christianity and stayed in the mission stations. Staying that side meant that they can have access to education, they can have access to healthcare, they can have access to so many other benefits that came with staying in a mission station. So, the day one tribalist who's gonna die a tribalist was offended by other people choosing what they're choosing. I'm not sure why people get offended when people make their own decisions. We should allow people to make their own decisions. We should allow people to make their own choices and, do what they feel like they're supposed to do, right? Not necessarily that they should go against the law, but I mean that within the context of the law, they should actually be what they feel like they want to be. Anyway, so tribal people who felt like we were never going to change called the converts sellouts. So you're a police officer. You become a police officer in why? Why are you becoming a police officer? You're a sellout. You became a teacher. Becoming a teacher is a sellout at that time. Becoming a medical doctor or a lawyer, and so forth and so on. So although you celebrate somebody who just got an LLB or somebody who studied medicine for 7 years, back in the day, you were a sellout. No matter how good you think it is now, it used to be you being a sellout and if they find you, they were going to execute you. Why are you becoming a police officer? Why are you having the ways of white people and stuff like that? So, having been given that context, I wanna talk about the term sellout some more. So people look at what they don't understand and say that this person is a sellout. You have white friends. They call you a sellout because they don't know what having white friends is. You know, Nhlanhla Lux said something very crucial. He said that you send us to their schools. When we become friends with them, you call us sellouts. Why are you calling people sellouts when you don't understand the context that they are in or the person that they've became? Some people would outgrow things, right? You'll find that you used to have a group of friends, you used to like doing things, and then you changed the environment and you outgrew, the activities that you used to do with your friends. Then they come back and say, don't tell us about that sellout. He's a sellout. He changed, he adapted. Change is good. Outgrowing things is good. So I really don't understand why you would victimize somebody, hate somebody, or badmouth a person, or gossip about somebody just because they're evolving. We are supposed to evolve. We are supposed to change. And still on the issue of, the mission stations. The believers who were converted at that time, they still wore their tribal clothing. That's imbeshu and stuff like that. Nobody ever forced black people to change from their traditional tribal attires to what we wear now. Look, I'm wearing a shirt. So it was also considered being a sellout because now you take on Western clothing. So a person in the 1800s who would look at me, a black man wearing like this, would call me a sellout. The question is, well, what is a sellout? How did the people change from their traditional attires to wearing textile? So what happened is they would feel embarrassed when they pray and maybe they dance in the congregation, and then all of a sudden their private parts are displayed or their buttocks are displayed. The people in the church didn't have a problem with that. It was them who felt like, we need to do something about this. Let me try to cover up. Okay, this topic is going to clothing, right? So when they covered up, they decided to take on the Western type of clothing, and this meant that they can't be reintegrated in their tribes. They had to stay in mission stations, otherwise they would lose their lives. Imagine being killed because you wanna have rice and all the foods that the Western people had, or being killed because you want school so that you can become a lawyer. Even worse, you become a professional and people call you sellout because they don't know what a professional is, right? On the issue of clothing has never been part of the black generation, right? But because of a social construct, there's a case in Rwanda where a lady was arrested because they felt like she didn't dress enough. Is it because they forgot their history? No, it's not because they forgot their history. It's because of a social construct. We've been conditioned for so many years that being naked is wrong. And some people even made a law out of that. So once you violate a social construct, that is a problem. So always try to what? To be inside a social construct. And when you look at clothing in some denomination, some people believe that wearing a certain type of attire gives you more spiritual powers. You get to have a certain rank in the spirit because of clothing. Well, I don't want to criticize that. But if that was the case, then why would Adam and Eve have such an intimate relationship with God where they get visits from him without prayer, right? They were naked. So violating a social construct is a problem. Nudists understand this. That's why, or naturists, that's why although they want to walk around naked and ride a bicycle naked and do their shopping naked, they can only do it in a secure club, somewhere where normal people are not invited. People who feel like they can be offended are not invited. So we must try as much as possible to exist as a society and to follow the order, because an orderless society will lead to conflict and riots. And if you wanna walk around naked, that is not bad, but do it in maybe in your own house, or join a club with naturists and whatnot, unless if the society that you are within allows that. Speaking of nakedness, so in the spiritual realm, nakedness only means that you what? You are aware of your own follies. You are aware of your own shortcomings, your own limits. So, for example, when Noah's son found his father naked, he didn't cover his nakedness. What does this mean? It means that he saw his father's faults and he didn't do anything to try and improve what his father was doing. But then he was what? He wanted to showcase his father's nakedness publicly. This means that you see somebody's faults, you see somebody else's errors and sins, and what do you want to do? Instead of covering that person, you want to make it a public affair. You want to publish it. You want the whole world to know, or you want certain people to know so that they can discredit this person. There is no love in that. Love covers nakedness or limits or human error or whatever you want to call it. So the other brothers came to what? And covered their father. This means that they recognize that our father is a human being and he will have his limits. He will have his faults and errors. That doesn't mean we have to go and try and publish it or try to discredit him or try to reject him because of it. But it means what? It means that they should learn from it, cover it, and do more. So the curse that the other son got just meant that he will never be able to have a bigger mentality of being in charge, of managing his own affairs. Why? Because he doesn't understand the power of covering other people's faults. I was still talking about clothing in a lot of denominations. A lot of denominations feel like, oh yeah, I'm now more powerful because I dress a certain uniform in my church, or I wear a certain feather, in my spiritual setup. Really? I mean, these things are human invention. They just came now. Powerful spiritual people used to be naked. But like I said, it's not normal to walk around naked now. We cover up because we respect the social construct, we respect the order of the current day. You whiling out and wanting people to accept you to while out is not acceptable. Go start your own community with the people who think like you, right? Have that, that little place where you guys can fully express whatever you want to express, right? But in cases of Rwanda, it is now illegal to be naked. It's law. And when you break the law, you know what happens when you break the law. We cannot try to justify it just because you saw a South African or a girl on Instagram not wearing, and then you want to do it in a social construct where it's not acceptable and want to be accepted. Why not go to the country that those things are accepted? Why not, go in a setup where that is accepted, or post it on the internet? Talking about Instagram, people think twerking started with Faith and Getty, right? But when you look at the history of, gay clubs, twerking has been there in the 80s. It was there in the 80s. It was because, now it is just because of the internet that people who don't go to underground clubs get exposure to the things that maybe your Instagram will give you. But these things have been there. They haven't started today. The question is, the problem at the time is that such things were not licensed. Hello? You had to have a license to run a club like that, and most of the clubs were illegal, and then they were shut down, and police used to harass that type of community. So Instagram or the internet as a whole was a way of people now re-expressing that. And when you adopt things like that, you need to understand their history. You need to understand where they come from and how they got to you. But I feel like right now it's just about making money. I can go naked and make money. I can go naked and not have a 9-to-5, right? So that is the whole idea around it. Moving on. The idea of democracy being a government by the people, for the people, is nothing but public relation, right? The people don't rule. The people during succession are called to decide who rule. In fact, in South Africa, the political system in such a way that you don't even decide who rules. You decide the party that rules, right? You don't elect an individual that you like and say, oh, I want this guy. Because the party can sack that person out like they did with Robert Mugabe. His ZANU-PF sacked him out when he founded it, and yeah, we know the story there. I don't want to talk about Mugabe. On the concept of, like I said, government by the people, for the people, government was never by the people. It was never for the people. If you believe that, then the guys that really go out and vote would have benefited so much. But it's only some people that benefit from voting, right? Some people benefit, some people don't even benefit. The democracy, let's talk about Zimbabwe. The democracy in Zimbabwe we have seen it fail over and over again. In the time of Morgan Tsvangirai, we saw the votes being rigged so that he doesn't win. And even in the latest, like in 2018, when Nelson Chamisa was running, they had the same problem. And big ups to him, who decided to take it to a constitutional court, even though he did not win, but he set in motion so many possibilities. I mean, students of history will look at that and say, we too can challenge the powers that be. We too can, rally against, speak against wrongdoing and fight against it, instead of just giving up and say, you know what, they always win. But he set in motion so many things. Activism now is on a whole nother level, despite the results that he got in the constitutional law, right? But one day somebody will look at that and say, wow, I can make a change. Go out there, campaign, and fight the powers that be, and really change will come. And I want to comfort the people of Zimbabwe, wherever they are. I mean, we have seen so much hunger coming from that side. And we hope that you guys will find a way to figure out how to get out of that bad economy and how to rebuild yourselves. And yeah. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, and yeah, if you feel like this, you want to criticize the content, I really don't mind. But with I dropped concepts the first episode, and the kind of feedback I get really doesn't have to do anything with the content. People talk about my fussy voice and stuff like that. But anyway, do like, subscribe, share with your friends, and whatever you want to do with the content, I accept it. Whether you want to criticize me, whether you want to call me bad names, it doesn't matter. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about clothing. Let's talk about nudity. Let's talk about mission stations, the concept of sellouts. Why are you calling people sellouts? Why are you calling people sellouts? All right, this is your boy, Mr. R. Questions and Reason, Sessions with the Founder. Cheers.